Welcome to the Strong, Single and Human podcast, a real look at single parenting, how to navigate the ups and downs of life with kids on your own while keeping sane. We cover all manner of subjects from domestic violence, dealing with childhood trauma, through to fussy eaters and how to help your kids become resilient. I'm your host, Claire Martin. Welcome. This week's guest, Courtney Ross, is a dedicated fitness enthusiast and wellness advocate with a diverse background in modelling, personal training, health coaching and nutrition. Her journey towards a profound understanding of the human body and its optimal care started unexpectedly with a minor surgery that forced her to confront the importance of movement and self-care during her recovery. Motivated by this experience, Courtney embarked on a quest to unravel the intricacies of the body and develop her path towards optimal health. Starting as a personal trainer, she gradually expanded her knowledge by acquiring multiple nutritional certifications. And through her studies, Courtney discovered that while nutrition is a highly individualized aspect of wellness, fundamental principles apply universally, such as the need to be cautious of misleading food labels and the benefits of consuming whole foods. Eager to explore food's profound impact on physical and mental well-being, Courtney delved into functional medicine, and she also pursued a comprehensive understanding of holistic iridology. I hope I've said that right. Recognizing that the body communicates through various signals. Armed with this wide range of tools and knowledge, Courtney has been able to help individuals who have been failed by conventional approaches and by offering alternative perspectives and diverse avenues for exploration. She instills optimism and empowers people to reclaim their well-being. She wants to help parents understand the power and importance of activity and how the choices you as parents make around nutrition are a powerful force to your child's health. Well, she's in the right place. This is the Strong, Single and Human podcast. Hi, Courtney Ross. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here with you.
I am so excited to get into and talk about kiddies' health, kiddies' nutrition, exercise for mums, dads and kids really with you today. So look, I've sort of given an introduction at the beginning, but look, tell us a little bit about what got you started in this and how you've come to where you are now.
Well, I started in fitness. I've been certified as a personal trainer since 2005, and everything kind of evolved from there. But kind of what sent me down that road was I had some minor surgery and I had to be sedentary during that time, and I just could not take it. And I never considered myself to be particularly active or anything like that, but it drove me batty. And, I also realized that I wasn't going to have a modeling career forever if I didn't take care of myself. And so, a combination of those two things made me start working on my body, and I really enjoyed it. And I ended up changing the way my body looks. And I was like, well, wait a minute, I think I can help other people do this. And, the more you do, the more you want to do. And it turned into, I like to eat junk food when I was, in my early 20s and teens and all that stuff. And if it was possible to out-exercise a poor diet, I would have figured it out. But sadly, it is not. So I ended up going on the road of nutrition and spent years working on nutrition credentials and studying so many different, schools of thought on nutrition, because it is not one size fits all. And all of them go into that, and then functional medicine and health coaching. And I really just wanted to have more tools in my toolbox, because the more I was able to help a client, the more I could help them reach their goals. And that's a pretty cool thing when you can give somebody that light bulb moment, or they realize they have more control over their body or their health than they initially thought they did.
And isn't it true that like 90%, so to lose weight or to be healthy, it's 90% your diet and 10% exercise or
something
whatever,
like
that sort of ratio.
Like I said,
ratio.
You can't out exercise a poor diet. And again, I would have figured it out, because I was the cheeseburger and fries and pizza rolls and, and
oh my God, I'm so jealous.
yeah. Well, I was a runway model, so I was tall, and it didn't matter what I ate.
God.
You can eat anything when you're 20, and, I was
not when I was 20.
But I was like, this isn't going to last forever. Everybody who was old was like, oh, you just wait, And so I was like, well, I better start learning to like vegetables and things. So, the more I learned.
Well, fries are vegetables, aren't they?
Well,
fries are vegetables.
Well, that's a pretty, rough correlation.
Oh, don't. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Fries are so bad for you. So bad for you.
And so I had to find ways to like vegetables, and the more I realized that food is medicine, the more I was like, all right, this is important, and it made me want to eat some of those things. And you can find ways to prepare things that make them more delicious, and still not everything will be delicious, but sometimes I just decide I'm going to take one for the team because of the nutrient benefits of whatever that vegetable is that I'm not particularly fond of. And, then I'll have a piece of chocolate afterwards. And so, it's about balance and, understanding that what we put in our body matters.
Yeah, I have to say my not go-to vegetable is kale. It's like eating, I don't know, cardboard. I mean, and my diet is 90-ish, 95% vegan, right? I do eat meat, but on the very, very occasionally, like at a party or something like that, I'll eat meat, or if we go out to dinner, I'll eat meat. But my diet at home is vegan, basically, as much as I can do with nuts. And, I'd like to call it a whole field diet.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, but kale, I don't know, like that stuff, I think that is the only vegetable that if there was a nuclear fallout would actually survive, because
it's like the cockroach of vegetables.
Yeah. Give me anything else, right? Spinach, all different types of lettuce, anything else, right? But kale is just like so chewy. It's so good for you, but so chewy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you gradually change your diet then?
Yeah.
Because obviously going from what you were eating, so you just how did you gradually change it then? Just
the more I learned about what was in food and what those bad things could do to you, the more I decided to try to eat better / other things. And I really don't eat out much to my boyfriend's dismay. But, they don't serve the quality of food that I will eat at restaurants most of the time. Like all my vegetables are organic. I distill my own water. And I was last night, and they didn't even have bottled water. So I just had like a cup of soup and like no beverage. And she just looked at me funny. And I'm like, I'm not drinking that. Like, no. So, I mean, it's, that's what's important to me. And that's not going to be that way for everybody. But, I look at it this way. You can pay now or you can pay later. And I'm paying now. And there's no guarantees in life. And there's no guarantee that, because I'm doing all these things now, most of the time that, I'm going to be the ripe old age of whatever and go to sleep one night and not wake up the next morning, which would be the ideal for everybody. Right. But, I feel like if I'm doing these things, I'm setting myself up for success. I'm very mobile for my age. I can lift more weights than most women my age. People don't think I'm as old as I am. And that's something that I'm proud of, because I take care of myself. So, it's important to you.
Yeah, and it leads to so like there is a saying that and don't ask me where I read it because I read it some time ago. But there's a saying that the earth provides us with everything that can heal us, that can help us, and that we've messed it up basically by going in there and going, oh, we're gonna do this sugar thing, get the fat, blah blah blah, right? And we've actually messed up our diets. And actually, the earth provides us with everything we want for illness, for health,
Yep.
for longevity, all of that stuff.
Your cancer,
And
any disease. Yes, the earth provides for everything to help balance our hormones, for analgesics, for pain relief. And yeah, I mean, and that's 100% true. The earth does provide, and somehow there's spiders involved in that. And I'm not, I wouldn't call myself nature girl. I'm not out foraging for my own herbs or anything, but that is true. Literally everything that we need, we can find in nature. And, there's a whole reason why pharmaceuticals have side effects and things like that. And typically herbs and that do not, because they work synergistically with the body instead of working down a singular pathway. But that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I mean, right. Everything that we need is out there.
And there's scientific experiments, because I'm vegan a lot of the time. We have to, it's not what we have to, it's a choice, right? I drink almond milk, oat milk, so nut milks and things like that. But coconut, I got diagnosed with high cholesterol, right? And I was like, well, what am I doing? I said, they were like, you need to cut out dairy, you need to cut out meat. And I'm like, well, I don't have dairy, I don't have meat. And it was, it's highly likely that it's the processed vegan foods, which I've cut out, but then also coconut oil, right? Coconut oils, coconut milks, things like that, are quite bad for cholesterol, right? Unless they have the fiber with them, right? So there's been experiments, scientific experiments. This isn't some hippie fluff, right? There has been scientific experiments that have done to say the actual effects of coconut, if you were to have raw coconut with all the fiber in it, cleans the body and doesn't really affect the cholesterol because of the fiber stops from some of the bad stuff going into your body. But yeah, so
well, here's something.
Just eat lots of fiber.
Here's a little gem. And I don't know how things work, where you guys are, but some years ago I was told that I was eating, I should eat fewer egg yolks for my cholesterol. But here's something that mainstream medicine probably will not tell you. Cholesterol, high cholesterol, is a marker of inflammation in the body, period. Very little to do with what you eat. It's basically saying that your body's inflamed and you need to figure out the cause of the inflammation. And that could have something to do with your diet, but not necessarily because it's a high fat food. It would be because that food doesn't agree with your body. And or there's something else that's causing inflammation. And so if you have high cholesterol, the last thing you want to do is take a statin. What you really want to do is try to figure out the cause of the inflammation, and that will help remedy your cholesterol.
Yep. And I'm very much like, I don't want to go on statins, and I'm so I've been researching because I'm like, I don't want to take a drug.
Right.
So I would prefer to heal myself naturally if I can, or they can chop bits off of me if I can't heal it naturally. But yeah, so I mentioned in the intro about functional medicine, right? So is this what we're talking about? Because you studied functional medicine,
Yes,
didn't you?
yes.
So is this
essentially functional medicine is considered like root cause medicine. Allopathic medicine or traditional medicine is basically you go to the doctor, you tell them what symptoms you have, they put your symptoms to a disease process, and they write you a prescription. What makes functional medicine different is you're basically trying to figure out the cause of something. Like I said, if you have high cholesterol, they'll put you on a statin and tell you to eat fewer egg yolks or something like that, or maybe do some exercise. Yeah. But ultimately, if you go to a functional medicine practitioner or doctor for high cholesterol, they're going to run some labs and try to figure out where the inflammation's coming from and work to bring that inflammation down. And so that could be a number of things. It could be heavy metal toxicity. It could be mold. It could be, food intolerances. I mean, there's a whole host of things that can cause it. But it's about finding what the problem is and fixing it. Because if you can educate somebody on what is causing it and they can see the difference in their labs from before and after, they've just taken ownership of their health and they now can control whatever that issue is, as opposed to, well, I got to go get this prescription pill. I got to go do this. And, the goal, I mean, my goal is to make people feel empowered, to let them know that they have ownership and to give them that control, because most people that come to me anyways would rather, put in some work. But being healthy, especially in this climate, takes work. I mean, when you walk through the grocery store or, whatever, it's all garbage. And so, even, if you're trying to eat, some fruits and veggies that are covered with pesticides and things like that, I mean, that's not good either. And so, obviously we all need to do the best we can with what we have. But that is a big part of, it takes effort to be healthy, because you have to learn these things, because if you are not really looking for these answers, you're not going to find them.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, when you came off eating junk, basically, what changes did you see in you?
I had more energy. My skin looked better. I never really broke out much, but just overall, like saddlebags, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you guys would call that term. You know what I mean? Like, I was always thin, but I'd be like, what is this fat right here? And, I watched my body change. And, depending on what you eat, things will collect in certain areas. And also, depending on your face breaks out, that also is indicative of what the issue is. And so you can see by someone's skin or, whatever, sometimes what the problem is. I mean, not always, but that is a clue as to what's going on with somebody.
Wow, really? The skin?
Oh, for sure. Everything, your skin is a detox organ. So
yeah, well, it's the biggest one, isn't it?
So that's where, when people, and I don't know what the mainstream thought process is on this now, but I remember when I was young, it was like, well, you can eat whatever you want and nothing that you eat affects your face. Yeah. And I think we all remember kids in high school that have really, really bad skin. And now I want to pull those kids inside and be like, I can help you,
Yeah,
they were eating. They just had severe leaky gut, and their body was just out of whack. And if they were educated, on how to eat, then they could control that if they choose. But that's just it. These things are all a choice.
And this is a problem, right? It's also peer pressure at that age as well. But you sort of sit there and go, well, you can either follow the crowd and go and get your Maccas and your KFC and eat all of that stuff. And yes, I have to agree, right? I don't like Maccas at all.
I don't know what that is.
Horrible.
What is?
McDonald's. That's what we call it. Maccas, right? Maccas. We call it Maccas. Everything has an O on it or an A on it, right? Maccas.
Well, as a vegan,
the Colonel.
You could eat there because it's not real meat.
Well, I suppose you're right, but I still hate it.
No, I haven't tested it.
It's just sugary, horrible. And the problem is, if you go on a road trip, so we're in Australia, right? It's a big country. You're in the States, so it's a big country, right? But if you're traveling to anywhere, it's a distance, right? And the only real places that you can eat if you're not going to take your own food with you are Maccas, because there's lots of Maccas around. So or KFCs, which is just like fried chicken. I'm like, blah. So yeah. So look, this is what I was going to want to talk to you about, because I've found with children, and I know with my son, right? Give him sugar and he's nuts, right? Absolutely insane. And it's really hard, right? Because all they want to eat is this, and we're geared up, right? Our bodies are geared up to eat the high calorie dense foods, because when foods were scarce, that's what we needed to eat, right? You didn't want to go and like forage around for the low calorie stuff. You needed to get the high calorie stuff in you. and go from there. So with kids, right? Like what other do you talk to anyone I don't know, do you coach anyone regarding their children and their diets? Because it affects kids who are autistic, kids who are ADHD and things like that. So like, how important is diet for children?
Oh my gosh, it's everything. I mean, what you eat really is the indicator for how you feel. And, I worked with someone, I typically don't work directly with kids. I don't have any. So, probably part of it.
That,
you know,
you're so lucky.
Sometimes I think so too. But there's a woman that I work with, and her son was having all these issues. He was severely constipated, and every, I don't know, couple of months he'd end up going in the hospital, and they would do a Miralax flush to get him to go to the bathroom. This kid was like 8, and they were doing all this stuff. He had no social life. He didn't want to go to school. He was really introverted.
Oh, shame.
They didn't want to go anywhere, because if they got in the car, you want to know where they were going, and if where there was a bathroom, if they needed to stop. Like, he was really like hyper focused on this. He's 8 years old, and she came to me and was randomly talking about this, and I was like, I think I can help him. And so we put him on a little bit of an elimination diet, and I said, you really need to be strict with this, because gluten is a big problem for most people, because it's been so adulterated, especially here in the States. In Europe, it's not so bad. I don't know about by you, but wheat is not what wheat was. And, and then it's covered in pesticides and poison and whatever. And that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
I gave her an elimination diet, and I gave her a simple probiotic. And, this particular one, it's spore-based. And I had her titrate him up, and, he's 8, he's like to swallow capsules. So I said, open it up, put it in some applesauce, and give him this. And within 3 weeks, he was going to the bathroom regularly, and he never went back to the hospital. He was never on Miralax again. This was like 4 years ago. Now the kid's still fine. And, she called me crying, because, like, happy tears, because he had actually asked to go to his brother's baseball practice, and he'd never asked to go anywhere. Wow. And he asked if he could go. He wanted to go and be a part of the family and do something and hang around. And she was so happy. And it was so simple. And, ultimately, I think we know as adults what we should and shouldn't eat, for the most part. I mean, there's food labels that are misleading, where it says fortified with this, and that's all garbage. It's all garbage. This fortified nonsense is garbage. It's fortified with synthetic versions of vitamins. Your body cannot assimilate something synthetic. It's garbage. However, we know for the most part what's good for us and what's not. And if it's not good for us, it's not good for them. And I'm a firm believer of don't screw up the kids. They should have their chance to screw themselves up after they turn 18. So we need to give them what they need to thrive, and teach them why they're being given what they're being given, and why they're being told they can't have what they can't have. And obviously those things, they change based on the age of the child. But, if you give that child ownership in how they're eating and what is good for them and why, especially if they're playing sports and they're doing things that are active, if they understand that these things can enhance their performance, they'll give them more energy and all of that kind of stuff, versus this garbage food, that's going to set them up so much better as adults, to thrive and be healthy, and then, create healthy habits for their own kids. And I just think that, medicine and I want to say some parents, and I understand people are busy, so that plays into it. And sometimes you just want a babysitter for your kid. You're like, here's the Nintendo, or here's the snack.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
But
I don't know what you mean.
But you know what? That's okay sometimes, because you know what? Everybody needs a mental health break once in a while. And you know what? Sometimes you have to do that, because, it's real.
But also, right, I think You don't want to alienate your child as such from technology,
Right.
because everyone's got technology, right? And also going forward in the workplace and at schools and things like that, they all have technology, so they really need to be able to function with it. And I think banning it completely is like the child's crack cocaine. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's, you want to be able to go, well, you can have it and you can earn time to use it or whatever. But yeah, like my son has, like, my view is he can have his iPad as long as we're going out and doing something in the afternoon or whatever. So as long as we're active
Yeah.
for part of the day and stuff, then that's good. And 9 times out of 10, I found he'll be on his iPad, and then I've come out from doing whatever I'm doing, cleaning or cooking or whatever, and he's then not on his iPad and he's playing. So
That's great.
yeah, yeah, no, exactly. So, okay, but then, and I know, I mean, you're preaching to the converted, right? Because I know all of, it's essential. But are there books out there? Are there videos? I'm sitting here going, Courtney, you need to write a book for children on this, right? So they understand what is good for them, right? But like, are there resources out there? Because this is what I find hard. And my son's now 7, and I have a limited knowledge and a limited way of actually being able to communicate to him why he needs to eat spinach, right? Why he needs to eat various different greens.
Actually, very good for play in the dirt too. The micro
yes,
are so good for us.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Yeah, he's soccer, he's Oz kick and AFL, Aussie rules, football, he's baseball, he's out there.
Good.
Like grappling around. Yeah, we got the beach is 2 k's away. It's a bit cold at the moment, but yeah, he's out down the beach in the sea. And I think that's really important. That's what I try and do, is get that sort of like yin and yang of iPad and going out and doing stuff. But how do we as parents start to educate our kids, right? Because I find that's one of the hardest things, is to go, eat your spinach, like, because it'll make you. I mean, my mum and dad used to go, eat your spinach because it'll make you strong like Popeye, right? You can't say that now. Popeye's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, right. And that's a tough one. And since I don't have kids, I haven't had to do that on any type of like major scale.
Yeah.
But what I would say, the first thing is to get yourself educated. If you understand why, you're going to be a much better teacher for your kid, because it's questions, and it's always going to be why. And that's the question that I ask all the time. When I first started learning this stuff, I was like, yeah, right. Like literally when I first started getting into functional medicine stuff, I would start reading about the importance of the gut. And I was like, come on, because I was 100% a mainstream medicine person. And that was my thing. And I was like, okay, well, there's something wrong. You go to the doctor. And now there's no way in hell I'd go, no. So, unless there's like an emergency, no. And so the most important thing is to begin to educate yourself, because you are going to be the best teacher for your kid. And it's up to you to, the nuances of your child and what they can tolerate and what they enjoy, and where you can sneak vegetables in and what motivates them. And that's going to be different for, every child. So, it's most important that you start to educate yourself, because if you set a good example, the kids are going to see it. If you are telling them to eat a salad, and, you stopped at some fast food place, or you're eating, some garbage, whatever, they're going to be like, well, really? I mean, because you shouldn't be sticking to lunch. You have Lunchables there, that garbage processed meat. You know what those are? They're these.
Is it where there's little biscuits and cheese and biscuits and ham and all of that?
Lunch meat, these little, it's just, that's something that looks like it could potentially be healthy, but if you look at the additives in the pseudo meat, the stuff, it's terrible for you. You need to start reading labels. That's one of the keys, is read labels. And if there's a bunch of stuff on there you can't pronounce, you don't want to eat it. Preparing food, real food, takes some time, but you can prepare twice as much and freeze it so you have it for later. There's always ways around it. And it is a little bit of a lifestyle change, or it can be for some people. And it's something that takes time to adjust to. It takes time to create and adopt a new habit. And, when you slip up, you have to have some grace with yourself and get right back on the horse and be like, okay, I just didn't have time. I was really frazzled. It was an awful day. And I stopped wherever and ate whatever. But tomorrow, I'm preparing X, Y, Z.
Start back on it. Start back on it. And also it's like finding simple things to do, right? So like I know with myself, and when I decided, right, that's it, I'm cutting meat out and dairy. One, it's been better for my skin. I used to have eczema, so cutting out dairy's just been unbelievable for my eczema and stuff like that. But like it just was gradual. I said, right, I'm going to cook 2 vegan meals or have 2 vegan days a week, because it's a re-education, right? I'd spent 40 odd years cooking meat. And, there are a few things like bacon, I have to say, bacon that like you do get, which is one of probably the worst things for me. But like I go, oh, bacon, bloody hell. But you can have fake in bacon. Mind you, I'm not sure that's actually really healthy for you either. And if you, like you say, you do it occasionally, it's okay. I've now started, because I was the same view as you, right? I went, well, I'm eating healthy, but my son's still eating meat, has dairy, so I've started to introduce more vegetarian dinners to his, and he actually prefers them to meat-based ones. Still can't get him off sausages, which is like horrendous, but we're working on that one. But yeah, and yeah, it's just so different. So mentally, right, if you're eating rubbish, you're going to be foggy, you're not going to focus, and all of those sort of things.
Yes.
So like what about if you've got a picky eater as a child? How do you start to, or what about if you're picky yourself, right? And you go, God, the only vegetable I've had is fries. And how do I start to eat this stuff?
Well,
this healthy
this
stuff
may not be very popular, but if you're the adult and you know better, then sack up and go buy some real food and start learning how to prepare it and try different things. Just go buy a bunch of different vegetables. Try.
Yeah.
That's what I started doing. Just try, buy different things, and they're not all going to be winners. You're not going to love them all, but
like kale.
Yes, like kale. Like, well, I'll make kale chips, and I think that's fine. I can.
Oh, kale chips are okay.
Yeah. I can also put kale in a smoothie. Now I can crunch it. The texture's there, but I don't really taste it. And if I can get this, then it's fine. So there's plenty of things that I don't like. Like I do not like carrots. I'm like, ugh. But if they're cooked,
oh my God, I love
in
them.
something, okay, I can tolerate them. But you know what? When you're an adult, that's where it's like, be the actual adult. Do you want to be healthy? Don't you? And okay, so you're going to put a little. I cook most of my vegetables in butter, in ghee, or grass-fed butter. Butter isn't bad for you if it's clean. It's much better for you than margarine. I will not use vegetable oils, canola oils. That's all toxic oils. You heat olive oil. You only use that cold because that's bad once it gets past 350. So, once you know those things, just start experimenting. Okay, so if you like this type of dressing or this type of sauce, is there a way to make it a little bit healthier? Okay, can you cut something out, substitute something? All right, now sneak a vegetable in there. You're going to make meatballs. All right, so put some vegetables in the food processor and throw them in there.
I make ice cream with beans.
Wow.
With chickpeas and with beans and stuff, and just bung them in there. Because I need to get more beans. Need to get more beans in my life, right? It sounds really weird, but I need to introduce more beans and those sort of lentils and proteins like that in my life. And I came across a recipe the other day, which is with chickpeas.
Nice.
Chickpeas and frozen fruit, and it's so good.
Nice.
And you don't taste the chickpeas. You don't taste the chickpeas, and it is like a fruit ice cream.
And they are good. Yeah. And that's where, if you've got a kid that's that picky, then, you know, who's the adult? You know what I mean? Like if you make something and they're like, then make them try it. Like I don't believe in cooking for, 8 people in the family. You know what I mean? You make a meal. And if somebody has some sort of intolerance or something or an allergy, that's different. Otherwise, everybody has to try everything. Try it. And maybe, they don't like XYZ or whatever, but you make them try. Like if they're going to eat, God forbid, like a big thing of macaroni and cheese, which you can make that healthier too. But
you can make that healthy, I must admit. But yeah,
that's what they really want to say. Okay, I will make this for you, but you have to eat this much of this too. You eat this first, then you finish that. Because they have to learn. Yeah. And again, depending on the age, they're not gonna get it. But, you have to be the parent sometimes,
Yeah. Well, I'm teaching my son about microbiome, right? Because I have got into wanting to learn about that. Because at the end of the day, right, our digestive system is the thing that feeds our brain, right? Sends messages to our brain and all of those things and stuff like that. And so I'm trying to educate my son into the fact that he has lots of creatures that live in his body that he needs to feed, right? And those creatures need to be fed lots of different things. They don't just live on chips, right? So it is about, well, he's quite, I'm so blessed because he likes chips, but he'll eat like lots of veggies and fruit and stuff like that. So he could destroy like grapes and he'll destroy a whole punnet of tomatoes, like no problems, right? And as a child, even from a very young age, broccoli and cauliflower, which I thought texturally wise wouldn't be great. Oh no, he just like chews away at those. Sweet corn is not a great favourite of his though, but hey ho. We're working on that. We're working on that one. I'm just putting it surreptitiously in various different things and going from there really. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just
people get hate mail for saying, make your kids eat it. But I think that it's important that kids try things. You know what I mean? And they're not going to eat everything. Not everything's going to be a home run. But make them take a bite of something. And sometimes it's the look of the food or whatever. And maybe you could put some seasoning on it that will make it more palatable for them. But I think it's important. And to be honest, I kind of wish that I had to do that more when I was little, because I had a very limited diet. And, not that I should have had to eat a full plate of whatever, but just to try things, because I think there's things that I would have eaten much more readily earlier on if I had tried them, of course, at the time you're like, I don't want to, but even if we get a bite of those things like the fermented foods and things like that, you don't need to eat a bowl of fermented sauerkraut to get the benefits. You could have 2 forkfuls and get the benefits. Same thing with kimchi or, any of the dairy, the fermented dairy, which, that's obviously can be more allergenic for certain people, but those things have such health benefits and you don't need to eat a lot of them. So if you can just get a little bit of those things in, it could be helpful.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need a lot, not of the fermented foods, although I could eat a bowl of sauerkraut, which is really sad because I do I do like sauerkraut. Kimchi is a little bit of a acquired taste, but I still like that as well. So hey ho, it's all good. So exercise then, right? Let's delve into exercise a little bit because like you do the nutritional aspects, but you also do like you do the whole plan for people, don't you?
I can. Yeah. Yeah. And, I feel like organized exercise for kids isn't really necessary. Just make them go outside and play. They know how to do things that they like, whether they're jumping rope or they're kicking a ball, or they're playing catch. Or they're just, wandering around like in the woods behind the house, if I don't know what it's really like by you, but, here a lot of times, like if you have a big enough yard, there'll be like, some little woods or something like that. And kids will, go play. And it's good for your microbiome. It's good to be outside with nature. It's, you're moving and being active. And the more we move, the more we want to move. And it's important that, all of us are doing that, even if you don't like regimented exercise. I lift weights every day, but I like that. But a lot of people don't. Some people want to do, a group exercise class or Zumba, or some people just want to go for a walk. And you know what? It doesn't matter what you do as long as you keep doing it. If you do something once, that's not important. It's what you do day in and day out.
Every day. Yeah.
So choose something you enjoy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And after COVID, and with us all being stuck in our houses and stuff like that, right? It is really about getting into a regular routine, isn't it? And getting out there and doing it. And even and I know it's difficult being a single parent to actually go and do something every day, right? Because life gets away with you. And then by the time you, excuse me, by the time you sort of have sorted out the kids, got everything done for the day, sorted out what's going to happen tomorrow or whatever, and get their packed lunches done and bags sorted or whatever. And it could be late at night, but it might be that you just sit there and go, okay, well, I'm just going to stretch for 15 minutes and stretch out your muscles and relax down. So you don't need to actually go out and pound the pavements for like 20 minutes or whatever. But you could, if you find that just doing something every day just will help.
Yeah. And I will say, as much as I'm an exercise person, if you are a single parent and you're stressed and you're running around in this practice and that practice, or somebody's sick and, you're at your wit's end and you're like, oh, I was going to exercise and I got it. No, what's more important is sleep. Sleep is more important. If you're not sleeping, your body's not going to be healthy. It sends your body into a stress response. Your cortisol's off, which means you're going to have all sorts of food cravings that you might not normally have. It really changes your body. It changes your microbiome if you do not get regular sleep. There have been studies that show it, and that's not good for us either. So, while it's important to exercise and, some people can do it every day, some people can't, all right, maybe you can't exercise, because you're running around with the kids and they have this practice and that practice. But all right, maybe you go to work, you can take the stairs, you can park a little farther away. There's just little things that, add up over the course of the day that can get you a little bit more movement. Or maybe on your lunch, you take a walk around the block. Maybe when your kids have practice, instead of sitting in the stands, maybe you pace back and forth and watch them. Or maybe you can walk around the field,
It's almost like you've seen me at my son's soccer matches, because I can't stand still at his matches. And I have to pace up and down and listen to a podcast so I don't shout.
So you don't get banished.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're all as bad as we have such a great team, but we're all as bad as one another, and we will get into it, and we really want the kids to win. And my son just looks at me from across the pitch and goes, "Mum, shush." And I'm like, okay, all right. And I'm like, podcasting. I'm watching, but then because I'm listening to something, I don't tend to yell
That's
out.
Right.
So
there's all sorts of ways to do things. But if you are at your wit's end and you're stressed and you're doing the best you can, because I believe most parents out there really are doing the best they can, then take that time to sleep if you need it. Make yourself a playlist with some good rainforest sounds or whatever. Play that. Do some mindfulness, meditation, exercise stuff for a few minutes and go to sleep.
Spotify's got so much on their library as such. So yeah, there's no excuse for not being able to find something to get you to sleep. And what about kids who have is it good for kids who have learning difficulties, ADHD and things like that to actually get out and exercise and do, get out there and do stuff? Because I know some parents, and I've spoken to some parents, their child has difficulty socializing or empathizing with other children. So it's difficult to get included in sports and things like that. But is it healthy for them to still get out there and do?
I think so. I think
exercise?
That, sometimes it takes being around other people to kind of see how others interact and what goes on. And obviously the parents are going to know their kids best. Not every sport is going to be right for every kid. And they're really resistant. I mean, don't push too hard, I suppose, but they should want to do it, but let them try, take them to watch other kids play and see what their interest, go to a baseball game, go to a basketball game, go to a soccer game, go to a football game, go to all these different things and let them see what those sports look like, see how the game is played and find out what piques their interest. And, maybe you could just, even if you just start small, just working on some skills, get them out, teach them how to catch. I think that if the parent is involved with them, some kids feel better initially if the parent, is around. I think that the more they have the opportunity to try things and get out there a little bit, I think that's, there are certain things that, I look back and think, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I? And you think back, you're like, oh. And I think that kids want to be social for the most part, sometimes they don't know how, and that's normal, but I think they should all have the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, how do people find you online, Courtney? How do they find you if they want to find out more information?
They can just go to my website. It is missmoxiefit.com.
And that's Moxie, yeah?
Yes. MISSMOXIEFIT.
Yeah. I'll put all of the details in the actual blurb for the podcast. So look, thank you for chatting with us today. I could chat with you about this subject all day, because it just fascinates me. And I think it's so important to put good stuff in your body because, I think the problems we have in this world with high rates of heart disease, high rates of cancer and all of that stuff are really down to the additives, the preservatives and the pesticides that we're using. And I don't actually think we would be as a sicker world. I'm going to go world because you've got the US, me over here. We're sick nations that are like killing ourselves through this obsession with high calorie density
With
products.
Convenience. We're killing ourselves with convenience. Yeah. And you're 100% right. And if you, depending on where you fall into what school of thought, those things are being done to us on purpose. And, they're making those things easier and easier to find. And the really good things that we should be eating harder and harder to find. And that's why it really takes effort to be healthy. And so, you really have to make that commitment to it. And like I said, give yourself some grace when you slip because you're going to backslide. Everybody does. I mean, I'm certainly not perfect. If we can teach our kids, what they should eat and why, and help them understand and do our best to find ways for them to like those things, then we're setting them up for success and ourselves because, we want to be around to see them and the next generation. And you know what I mean? Like we don't want to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. And being a single parent, right? And being an older single parent, because I had my son later in life, I actually want to make my life last as long as I possibly can. So,
Right. And you want to be well and mobile while you're here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to be falling around and in a wheelchair while by the time I'm 70, I want to be walking up mountains. But because by the time I'm 70, he would have left home and then I can have a life. Right. So I want to be out there walking mountains, going and traveling. But look, so thank you. I've got one final question for you today. What piece of advice that you've been given do you still live by today?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, sorry, that's a bit of a big one. But yeah, what's a piece of advice somebody's given you that you still live by today?
Wow. I don't know. I guess something along the lines of if you really want it, fight for it.
Okay. Fair enough.
If there's something that you really, really want, fight for it. Don't let people tell you, you can't do that. You can't have it, whatever. If there's something that you're after, if there's a goal or, whatever, which I feel like is, what I've done, which is how I'm, doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. How you live your life.
And,
yeah.
So how bad do you want whatever it is? If you want it bad enough, keep fighting for it.
Yeah. There's no such word as can't. Let's just think of a different way to do it.
Right.
That's it. Fab. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on board and joining us here today. It's been a real pleasure.
I loved it. It was so fun to chat with you. I hope that, everybody's able to find a way to sneak some veggies, some fresh veggies in on their kids, or try any way to prepare something. Or if there is some way I could be of service, if they have a question around that, tell me, message me through my website. I'm happy to help.
If they've got high cholesterol and they feel as though they're inflamed, then get on board.
It's not your egg yolks. Yeah. It's not your coconut. It's not. There's something else.
There we go.
There's something else.
And do you know? And it's very funny that you say that, because I went and got my microbiome tested when I had all this high cholesterol going off, which they thought was partly due to the fact that I had an underactive thyroid, which isn't so underactive now, which is hilarious. Basically they said that I was inflamed. Yes. There was inflammation, right. And I changed this and do that and blah, blah, blah. So that was quite interesting. So that was where I had another second look at my diet and went, right, okay, how else could I improve it? Because I was vegan before I went to get my microbiome tested. And then when I got it tested, it came back and I was quite surprised that it was as bad as it was. And I was like, whoa, hang on a minute. So being vegan doesn't mean you're healthy, right? It just means that you've got to eat the right stuff.
There's a ton of processed food. Yeah.
So it's been interesting because they did 2 years ago want to put me on thyroid medication. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I'll try and sort it out another way. And now my thyroid is getting better.
Yes, I was actually, earlier today, I was just on education with the gut thyroid connection. And that's 100% valid. Literally every system in the body can be improved if you heal your gut. Yeah. I mean, and it becomes, right. Far-fetched, or that can't possibly be, but it's true. If you have a good, healthy gut, every part of your body is going to be better off.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Right. That's what I'm working towards. So yes. Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome. No, thank you. I'm going to let you get on with your day. I'm just starting mine here. But so just to let you know, Thursday is all right. It's not too bad. We're a bit cold here in Australia, but you're just finishing your day where you are. So, look, thank you again. And we will speak to you later.
Thanks so much. I had a blast.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you would like to hear more, please hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. If you would like to support us further, share this episode with your friends and family. And finally, drop us a review on iTunes, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and ideas. It all helps me to understand and produce awesome content you want to hear just like this. If you want to check out our past episodes, write to us, appear on the podcast, or for links, resources, and show notes, go to our website, www.strongsingleandhuman.com. We are also on all the usual social media platforms, Insta, Facey, and Twitter. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Be kind to yourself, and remember, no one is perfect. We're all just putting one foot in front of the other and doing our best. I'm Claire Martin, and you've been listening to the Strong, Single and Human podcast.